Great, thank you. So I want to just start out with a few quick questions. The first is, who here thinks that VR has a long ways to go before mass adoption? All right, and the second one is, any skeptics here who think that VR will never really reach mass adoption, that it's kind of like a nascent market? Okay, good, it's optimists. And then, who's with me and thinks that VR has already passed mass adoption and we're currently in a simulation? Nobody. So I'm David Gull, I'm the CEO of Outer Realm, and we're an immersive software startup, and we're focused on VR and AR prototypes and realizations of things that could be physical products or enterprise visions, or often real estate properties. And we create highly realistic first-person experiences for those ventures. I'm coming at this from an architecture background and a minor in visual graphics, and I studied under Professor Don Greenberg, who is one of the founding fathers of computer graphics. He was behind the Cornell box, which I think may have influenced the logo for this conference. I spent 6 years as a licensed architect at Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, most well known for the One World Trade Center. And then recently I was a VP at Floored, and we were a virtual tech startup where we had a successful exit to CBRE, which is the largest brokerage firm in the world. And here's just a few quick images, some of our most recent work. And at Outer Realms, we have this lens, and the lens is that humanity's spatial visualization abilities are widely varied. And so just to quickly demonstrate that and also test the room, we have a visualization test. So quickly with me, if the upper left object is rotated in a way such that it now looks like the upper right object, if you apply that same rotational operation to the lower left object, the answer is, who thinks it's A? Who thinks it's B? Who thinks it's C? Who thinks it's D? And who thinks it's E? And I guess most commonly in the room, everyone thinks it's F. I'm messing with you, and the answer's not up there. Yeah. Our answer is B. And so again, there were probably 3 or 4 people in the room that were quick enough to grab that. A little disappointed in you guys. Because of this variety of spatial visualization abilities, our visions are often misaligned. So I'm going to give you one more chance, and this time participation is not optional. So everyone hand in the air. Everyone hand in the air. And on the count of 3, everyone point east. 1, 2, 3. All right, so again, a greatly misaligned room, right? So if, Frank, I already gave you the answer.
It is that. I thought you were tripping us.
I would never do that. And so the point here is, if we're all misaligned on our spatial visualization abilities, that's going to easily lead to misunderstanding. If I think east is that way and you think it's that way, how are we going to, have a conversation about how to get to the hotel? And the thing about humans is, Google does help. The thing about humans is we tend to fear things that we don't understand, and fear is a huge obstructor to progress. So our thesis and what we're operating on is that if we can remove misalignment in the world and create a shared vision, that will enable progress, and that's our goal and our mission. And so we've been applying this to the business world, and the reason is any significant business or venture involves a huge array of internal and external stakeholders, and each of those stakeholders approaches a given project with their own set of biases, and those are subconscious and conscious, and they're coming from your past experiences. And one of the really interesting things is the more senior you are, and therefore the more likely to be the prime decision maker, it's pretty likely you're more firmly rooted in your biases. And those biases are things that cloud our imagination and communication. So for example, if you and I are talking about an aircraft and I say that I think the seat is comfortable and spacious, you may think that it's actually cramped because you're bigger of stature or you're used to flying first class, which I'm not. So again, miscommunications, and those become hurdles to our decision making and therefore obstructions to progress. So behind most of the slides so far has been an image, and again, I need some help here. What do you guys see? Someone shout it out.
Airplane.
Thank you, Frank. So it's an airplane, but this is a 2D image, right? So what kind of airplane is it, and how many seats are there, and are the seats comfortable and ample, or are they cramped? well, wouldn't it be cool if instead of just showing you an image, I could actually literally just walk you onto the aircraft and answer your questions in real time? And that's what we're up to. And the last thing I'd like to note is just this interest in duality in our decision-making process. So as humans, we tend to decide on emotion and then we justify that and reason that with logic. So big decisions are actually made subconsciously, and it's basically our OS, right? Our deeply empirical processing system that we really don't have access to from conscious control. And this subconscious process then reveals itself to our conscious mind as a gut feeling, and then our conscious mind searches for reasons to rationalize the decision we just made, and then we justify it, right, with logical reasoning. But the best decision-making, the go-forward decision-making, wants to be a combination of logical certainty and emotional certainty. And when those two things align, we move forward. And so the opportunity to us with immersive technology is to marry those two things. So we've all heard virtual reality described as an empathy engine, and that's because when you throw on the headset, you're so completely immersed into a lifelike environment that you start to interact with it and connect with it in a way that's never been possible with 2D screens. And so now it's immersive, it's sensory, and also, by the way, it's highly focused. It's pretty hard to get distracted when you're wearing a VR headset by anything other than something in the curated experience. But then we also have the physical side of it. So VR can be super realistic. It can be exact world scale. So a virtual chair can look exactly as a real chair would look. And so this is an opportunity for us to humanize our designs or ideas by validating and then, more importantly, invalidating bad ideas from the human scale long before we ever go through the expense of physically building them. So we can now share a concrete vision in an emotive way, and that's really a unique opportunity with immersive technology. We've all heard this adage, if you build it, they will come. And that may have worked for Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, but in the business world, hope really probably shouldn't be a strategy. So at Outer Realm, our proposition is instead start with a question. If you build it, will they come? And then use virtual reality to answer that question and then build it. So today I'm actually super excited to talk publicly for the first time about the work that we've done with an amazing company called Orion Span. And Orion Span has this vision, and this was their words, to experience the impossible. And they want to do that by creating Aurora Station, the world's first luxury space hotel in orbit. So it sounds kind of out of this world. Sorry. But for those of you who don't know, and I actually think this is a cool case study to be doing in the Science Center as well, but the International Space Station is being decommissioned. And so there's this opening opportunity for commercial ventures to step in and operate space platforms. But in order to accomplish that sort of bold business fleet, Orion Span has to enroll a huge number of stakeholders into their vision. They need investors, they need to raise a very significant amount of capital along the way, and they need to convince those investors that their money is well spent. They need customers, so they actually need to convince astronauts to pre-order a flight on Orion Span. They need to convince the regulatory agencies of what they're doing, NASA, FAA, and some of the space orgs. They need industry partners to transport the passengers, like folks at SpaceX, Virgin, or Blue Origin. They need manufacturers who are actually going to build this and provide the parts and systems, and often those manufacturers are expected to front their own capital and R&D. And then you need some PR and consumers to build the hype, right? So the challenge and the opportunity is, how do you create a very strong emotional connection that is retained over years and years to this unbuilt, expensive, and out of this world vision, right? And the answer, obviously, was virtual reality. And so we think this was the perfect medium for Orion Span to comprehensively share its product with all of those stakeholders. And just briefly to consider the alternatives. You have 2D images and PowerPoint, a medium that I'm stuck with today. And try just selling a person a house with an image. And we all have this preset schema of what a house is, right? Most of us don't have the same thing for a space station. We could create miniature scale models, but those aren't really going to give you any sense of what it's like to be inside of the space station, which is where you're going to spend your time. Or lastly, you could create these massively expensive physical mock-ups. And once they're expensive to build, they're also super costly to iterate on, impossible to transport, and there's no physical way to simulate zero-G, and there's no way to realistically simulate views to the Earth below, right? So None of these things are possible physically, but they're certainly possible virtually. And so here I'm just playing, a few clips from this VR experience. The key things are exact scale simulation. So if you, in the real world, were to walk 14 meters across a stage, you'd be walking exactly 14 meters across this station. We're able to embed things like video marketing, where we can convey a clear message about the company. We have realistic materials and lighting, interactive zero-G elements, which are super fun and grab the imagination and kind of bring out the kid inside of you. We've got a simulation of the Earth below, and we're able to create, of course, the exact scale of what that would be like when you're 254 miles above the surface. And we're able to simulate sunrise and sunset. And one of the coolest things about being on the space station is you actually see 15 to 16 sunrises in a single 24-hour period. So that's one of the most impactful things that you'll see when you're in space. And so I want to talk also about how we work with enterprise clients. We think that just as it's important to work and iterate virtually before you create physical products, that it's also a good idea to iterate virtually. So we always start with a low fidelity proof of concept. And at this stage, we're really trying to answer a simple question, like, is it impactful? Is it accurate to represent this station in virtuality? Is this going to move our idea forward, or is it not? And the answer when we did this was unequivocally yes. And then we move into a phase we call design development. And here we're doing a mock-up that fleshes it out a little further. We're talking about things like, where are beds, where are bathrooms, materiality schemes. And then finally, we move into the refinement phase, where we're creating a polished VR experience, and we have high-quality visuals. And at this stage, we're really answering the ultimate question, which is, what will it be like to actually spend 12 days in the Aurora station? And you're able to, when you have someone in this headset experiencing this, you're able to answer all of their questions on the fly, on the spot. What will my bed be like? Where will I sleep? How do I use the bathroom? Where's the shower? How do I see the Earth below? Where do we eat dinner? All those questions can be answered in real time, as opposed to, with words. And one of these things we've also noticed is people believe things they see, not what you tell them, right? And so this is just in our clients' words. Frank Bunger, the CEO of Orion Span. We have a bold vision at Orion Span, and our challenge is sharing that vision in a compelling way with others. And Outer Realms virtual reality allows us to literally put people inside of Aurora Station and the world's first luxury space hotel and enchant them with the dream of what spaceflight is really like. And that it feels so real to showcasing the Aurora Station to our customers is key, and as well as answering key questions that might otherwise remain as hurdles to progress. And so he says, until our product is realized physically, I can think of no better way to showcase our vision. So the other thing I want to talk about is, within a business, it's really important to have a strategic lifecycle plan to leverage VR and AR. So a lot of experiences so far have been one-off. And in this case, we have a roadmap to leverage this throughout the lifecycle of the company. So this particular experience can be adapted for specific pitches to folks like SpaceX or Virgin. We can expand it to different space station modules that serve different programs. And then we're also going to create an astronaut experience for those who can't actually afford or qualify for real space travel. And then it'll be leveraged within design and engineering to solve those complex assembly problems and ensure coordination, and then of course validate designs and aesthetics. And then lastly, and very cool, will be used for astronaut training. So educating and certifying astronauts in VR pre-flight, and then the ultimate, which is providing onboard entertainment in VR for the astronauts when they're actually aboard the station. And so at our realm, what's next? We're super focused on real estate. Probably 70-80% of our customers and clients are in new developments of real estate. But we're also interested in the future of at-home retail environments and creating these environments in your own home instead of leaving your home to shop. Working on some colonies on Mars, hyperspeed ground transportation, personal aircraft, but really any unrealized vision, we believe, can be created virtually first. And so just to reiterate our mission at our realm is to help these innovative visions become a reality, and we do that by first developing these prototypes. And really, we want to create these emotional connections in a world where decisions are made on gut feelings. And we don't want to just ensure that these visions are actually built, but we want to improve them through design iteration and validation along the way, and literally living inside of these designs virtually before they exist physically. And of course, the ultimate goal is to build a better future. And I want to end just with a few quick predictions because it's fun. So I think that Oculus Quest will ship 2.5 million units in 2019. I think 90% of Fortune 500 companies will have adopted VR or AR into some aspect of their business by the end of 2021. And I think that by 2028, 10 years from now, it will be as common to interact with a compute device spatially as it is to interact in a 2D paradigm. And here's my contact information. You can email me in 10 years and tell me I was right.
Right.
Thank you.
Good question. You know what? What are we for time? Okay. Well, we ask what question? Who's up? Any questions? Okay, go ahead.
How important is the game engine or even game design to see the concept solution?
Yes, I think it's critical. I mean, I don't think that we can be achieving any of these out of the box, realistically, without the foundation already there. So in this case, we're building on top of Unreal Engine when we're creating high quality visual experiences. And then if we're iterating something that's more technically challenged, we tend to be